What's up, everyone? This is Matthew Simmons from Gemakei Live, also known as the voice of Doom, and assists me in Online Warrior Productions. And this is our very first trial run of the show, where we're going to take a look at either an old, new, or possibly upcoming game, show you off some stuff, and we're going to talk about some of the latest stuff going on in the video game world, as well as some non-video game related content. With me today on the first show is Mike from GT, or GT Mike. Not sure how you want to clarify yourself.
Yeah, you just call me Mike from GameTrailers.com.
Okay.
So
yeah. Today we're going to take a look at a game that I'm personally looking forward to very much, and that's, of course, Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch. I don't know why it has that subtitle in America. It should be translated as the Holy Order of the White Queen, but whatever. This is the Japanese version because there is no release date for the game at all. In America, we just know it's Holiday 2012. Recently, I was at WonderCon, and Namco, was telling me that they have an upcoming event in Las Vegas. Might have already happened. I'm not sure. They're going to talk about a lot more about the game up there, but basically, what I could get out of Namco so far was that they know it's a big title. It's got a lot of pedigree behind it. They know that people really are interested in the book that came with the Japanese version, first print for PS3, and they came with all versions of the DS one. That's kind of got its own little story right there. But, they know people want it, but they're not making any announcements, which means they're not going to do it because they're lazy and cheap. So, but I will say one thing, though, and this is probably one of the best looking video games I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's definitely... I mean, a lot of people point to, like, the Tales series and maybe not so much Graces, but Vesperia before it, and Naruto Shippuden games for using this cel-shaded style. But I mean, this game kind of blows both of them out of the water here. I mean, this is the closest I've seen a game come to achieving the anime style you see quite frequently, and you can tell, like, just the detail in the environments here. Like, Tales games, like, they're very flat. They don't have too much detail. It's mostly very flat look. But this, look at all the sprawling foliage here. And you just don't really see that in a lot of games. I mean, Xenoblade did something to this, like, level of detail, but even Xenoblade doesn't really mimic this art style. I mean, it's going for a different direction. Yeah.
What's interesting here, too, is, I have camera control. A lot of, Tales games pretty much have, like, a static camera that would be like, it'd be like this, and you'd be running through it. But the camera follows me, and I can, whip it around. I mean, you can't always whip it around, but, you have a lot of control over it just to, like, look at your environments. And then I have, first-person look at the stuff. I mean, it's just a gorgeous-looking game. The battle system in this one's completely different. The DS version had a very traditional turn-based battle system. This one's like somewhere between turn-based and real-time. See, I'm running around in real-time. I'm avoiding enemy attacks. I have camera control. And then in the lower left, I have the command abilities, this is attack right now. And you see the timer on the left. That tells you how long you're going to be in your attack animation. You can also defend, and that's how I'm in defense animation. If I press circle, I can get out of it. If I'm attacking, and then I'm like, I'll press circle, run away. And then you'll see Shizuku, the little fairy over there, like throwing stuff into the arena. And, okay. This is interesting, like, I'm fighting with one of my little, like, Imagine characters, and they get tired after being out so long, so sometimes you have to call the main character Oliver in to do fights. Now, he's really a magician or a mage class, so he doesn't really have a lot of physical fighting ability. He's mostly there for spells and stuff.
He does have I don't know if you've gotten it yet, that one like kind of like over limit attack, that like fireball he can cast.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously as you said, he's a mage. He's got some pretty powerful spells that he gets later on. But yeah, early in the early goings, when you only have one companion with you, or not that many. You don't really want Oliver out there too long, so you got to kind of like balance between calling back your companion and then throwing him back out there to do melee damage.
And then you got special attacks like this.
And I mean, most of these early battles are kind of a little simplistic in nature.
Yeah, this is really early in the game. We're only in our first real quote-unquote dungeon area, you could call it. But, yeah, I mean, it's still pretty impressive just, graphically, like I was saying before, and effects, and just, like Mike was saying, a lot of the foliage or whatever. I can't pronounce it right now, but just detail.
The shrubbery.
Flowers.
I mean, I know a lot of people probably ask more about the battle system. As you see, like the enemies like appear in real time on the map. That's kind of like the tail system in other games. But when you approach them, you go into a battle arena. I guess a lot of people are going to ask, and you can probably answer this, Matt. Is like when you approach an enemy, is there any like variation on the starting conditions of a battle if you approach them from the front like that, or they approach you, or you approach them from behind?
If you're able to get... Okay, when they see you, they go into like an aggro mode, basically, and there's a little Metal Gear exclamation mark above their head. And if you run in straight into them while they're in this ICU mode, or the aggro mode, then you'll just, you'll have the normal start like you saw right there. And if you hit an enemy with their back turned before they see you, you get like a free early hit. And then if you're running away from an enemy, and they're chasing you and they hit you on the back while you're trying to run away, they'll get like an early hit on you. Well, you can still kind of move around a little bit, but yeah, it is status affected.
No, and when you defeat enemies, I don't know if you guys saw there, but like they drop mana and health orbs basically that can replenish in the battle.
And I know Shizuku sometimes throws stuff out around in battles too.
There's also one thing, I don't know if we're going to get in another battle here that we should point out, is in the top right, you get the enemy status indicators, and you obviously see like their health and everything, but you see that little icon in the bottom right of the enemy image. It like shows like, I believe it's their element or affinity, and like you can use certain attacks that are like the opposite of that to do, like they're like better suited towards that enemy. And that's kind of like a key thing in the game. Is like early on, it doesn't really matter as much, but later on, especially bosses, you want to pick characters who are best matched for that battle. Otherwise, you might have a little bit of trouble dealing with some of the tougher opponents that come later in the game.
We're gonna check out a boss here, but a lot of those status elements were in the book that came with the DS version, all printings. Here, the book's completely digital. So if you wanted to look up, say, monster manual side of things, I'm not really sure, but I think that's food. And here's like spells, and you have the whole spell book, and you basically just, okay, I'm going to look at this spell, and I can zoom in, and it's really highly detailed. I'm like, they're not like low-res images of the book, but you still get the full book. But I mean, this whole thing here, first you got to draw like this. It's gone. All you do is you pick a spell from a menu, and there's nothing fancy or special about it in the PS3 version. The spell's just there. They exist, whatever. This is a sort of monster like raising element to it, where you give your monster food and be nice to them, and I'll see that raised his attack level a bit. I'll give him like a little Sunday treat. And that raised his defense.
I think this is magic or special attack. Yeah.
So yeah, you got that. That was in the DS version as well. And then just equipment screen, what have you. I don't have any equipment for this poor little guy. I named him Bob. But
so you saw that little status icon over his head right there. Like you see that like the smiley face emoticon.
Oh yeah.
Is that like just like I don't remember. Can your monster or friends get like
in this? What you mean right here?
Yeah. Can they get like angry or upset? Or
yeah. I mean, if you treat them like shit, I mean, it's not gonna go well for you. I don't know the particulars of it. But yeah, I mean, you want to keep them happy and healthy. There was a whole like Nintendogs aspect in the DS game where you could like wash them and pet them and do all kinds of stuff like that. Haven't seen anything like that on the Imagine aspect of it here. So we're gonna check out a little boss here.
A little boss.
Okay, he's big, but I actually kind of find this cutscene kind of funny. There's a lot. I mean, a lot of the game is the same as the DS one story wise, but here they've added flourishes. Like here's these little duck guys. They hear the monster coming that you fought, and he just comes out and fuck you, you know. So a lot of little flourishes, like scenes that were really quick in the DS one now are a little bit longer, more fleshed out. But there's like major story changes as well, some of which I'm not really happy about, but kind of another story for another day or later.
Swatting Bob.
And this is the boss, and he's obviously rocking my house, so I can kind of get away from him, like if I want to, but like then I'm not close enough to attack, so.
Here it comes.
Shizuka's telling me to defend.
Like how your shield's pointed the complete wrong way, but it doesn't matter.
Ching.
This knocks you back a little bit. And that was actually, I remember the DS boss battle, that was kind of like the gimmick of that. The boss battle with this character was you had to like line up the characters in a certain order.
You have like this grid, and you could place them almost like a strategy game, like behind this little Imagine, I will call him Bob. You did that because what that would do is anyone who was standing behind him on the 9x9 grid was able to get away or blocked from his shockwave attack.
So I cast some magic, some flames against some leaf-based monster. Anyone who plays Pokemon knows that's super effective. Didn't seem to do too much damage. Yeah, that's a pretty good chunk. Like 1/10 of his life. Uh-oh. Yeah, you want to be blocking. That attack's pretty nasty.
Suzuka's telling us something here. We don't know. Probably that our Imagines, good to go.
He's telling you that the enemy, I believe, was like in a stunned or distraught state or something. So this is your chance to you should have unleashed some attacks and gone on defensive right here. You're successfully winning. Some words of encouragement. It's just crazy how this little critter is just beating up on this giant forest creature.
Something came out of him, you can see that there. Not really sure what that is or how to get it. I'm going to defend, or he just wrecks my world. Get this. Ah!
It just flew off.
That sucks.
I mean, yeah. And obviously this battle isn't too terribly difficult. I mean, it's pretty basic to figure out. There you go. That just replenished a lot of health.
So this is going to let me do my special attack if I survive.
Oh, you knocked back Oliver.
Okay, not a good time to be missing.
Now, have you noticed that these bosses have different attack patterns as you kind of get them in lower health stages, or do they kind of just follow the same pattern usually? At least this boss.
Yeah, this boss seems like he's kind of like a 3-move pony. He has that paralyzed stun attack.
Paralyzed you, yeah.
And then he's got
his basic arm swipes. He's got the knockback.
And I need to bring Oliver in here.
Oh shoot.
Uh-oh. See if I can kill him.
Kill him before he gets it. Nice.
Yeah.
Get your nice experience and level up. I mean, the battle, it has, obviously this is early on. It looked pretty simple for a battle, as you get the page on the monster.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. But, later on, playing a little further, the bosses get a little bit more intricate. You have to switch between your Imagines. You get more characters in your party. So there's more of a dynamic to the battle system than just, blocking and then attacking at the right time.
Yeah, that's the first boss of the game.
There's context-sensual, parts where, I believe you can, knock an enemy off balance, and, then they're, vulnerable to your attacks. stuff like that. I mean, still nothing too incredibly complicated, but I will say this: like the battle system took a little bit of time to get fully developed. When you get more characters and stuff, that doesn't happen for several hours into the game.
And the DS one was, like I said, it was pretty much a general turn-based battle system, but the lower screen was your characters, and you had a 9x9 or 3x3 grid, so you had 9 squares to place them wherever. But other than that, it was strictly, very easy to understand. And this guy in the DS version, at least, was sort of like info guide. If you needed help on anything in the game, you just bring this stone slab up in the menu and he would tell you about it. But I mean, like, what you were told was limited in the DS1 because the DS1 made heavy use of the book that came with the game. And this thing is the Kokoro no Kakara, which I probably mispronounced that, but it has something to do with it's something to do with like heart or power of heart thing. And one of the big things in this game, at least in the DS, I'm sure it's in here, is that you have to take like sort of the emotions from. You can take emotions from people. You can draw them out of people and give them to others. So like, say someone's really depressed, you can take someone who's overly joyous and like take some of like the power or like that essence of their heart and transfer and cast another spell on the person who's depressed, and you can like make them happy. So you can. It's like a balancing act, and you kind of use that a lot through characters and even objects in the game, where you have like 5 different elements of heart, and then you had to take them from one thing and put them in the other, sort of balance out the world. So that's what that vial was for. And that was the spell to basically take it, and that was the spell to give it in the DS version, which again here is non-existent.
From what I can remember, those spells that you actually get, those you use in the environments. You don't actually manually cast those in battle, like when you draw them.
There's the fire spell that you used in battle, and the healing spell that you can use in battle, but like you don't.
Well, I mean, you auto-select them, but like the fire spell, like there's one puzzle in the sewer, you gotta light the torches, and you actually have to cast the thing.
One thing I like about this is like, okay, his normal idle animation, I'm standing on this rock, I'm fine, whatever, but like when you go in the water, like he'll like, like I'm in water. Like there's a lot of small attention to detail stuff in the game.
Now, is there you're backtracking here. Is there any kind of like warp system or anything?
There's a teleport spell in the DS game that you could get, and there was an escape from dungeon spell. Basically, if you just wanted to get out of a dungeon area real quick, I'm sure they're in this game somewhere. This is an overworld which was previously thought to be impossible to do on an HD system.
It's going to take 10 years to make this.
Yeah, so this game practically did. But as you can see, we got an overworld. We got enemies that that we see on the map, and we get to fry them. I'm just gonna do this.
Sheep unicorn.
All right then.
And 2 for 1 there. Nice.
I got like no experience for it.
So yeah, then it means there's that glowing spot up there. I'm gonna guess
it's an item.
An item.
Yeah. I mean, your characters are still roughly pretty big on the map compared to like what you are, but I mean, it still looks really nice and detailed.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, how hard could it have been to make that kind of overworld right there?
Like what we're seeing here?
Oh, what we just saw before and on the battle scene. I mean, it honestly looks like the overworlds you'd see, like not like map overworlds, but like this kind of screen on a PS2 game is like the level of like detail you're getting on the overworld map of this. Just running in what is it, 720 or 1080, whatever this game runs in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no more like detailed really than what I saw in a PS2 game, but I mean, it just looks nice and clean, on HD. Like, it doesn't take that much effort to make something look that decent. I mean, I think, like, let's call it, like, company like Square Enix, when they say they can't make overworlds like that, because I think they want to make them have the level of like detail and like fidelity that you see like in any of the zones you go to in like a game like 13-2. Like they want the whole overworld to look like that. It doesn't necessarily need to look like that. I think.
I mean, really, I think 13-2's areas were even that impressively detailed. I mean, they looked nice, yes, but they didn't look like anything that was mind blown or couldn't be done. And
they say like making something like that big, but I mean there were some pretty big zones in 13-2. I mean in 13 you had the plains area, the Arclight Steppe, probably pronouncing it right.
So here I got tagged on the back. So this is what it looks like, when you're trying to run away.
Yeah.
So you have that clock that runs down, and you try to get away from the enemy as much as you can until, okay, now I can call my buddy in and have him just wreck these birds and make them wish they were never born. But I mean, I'm getting the hang of the battle system. It's pretty cool. I mean, I like being able to move around in battle. So it's not like strict traditional battle where it's not Dragon Quest. If you don't like that, I mean, I know a lot of people don't. I'm not really too much of a fan. I can only stomach it in like small doses. There I go again.
Eating his own tail.
Yeah, okay.
And
there's a lot of little. I don't know. I think there's a lot of little charm to these enemies and characters.
And the animation in that looks great. Like that spell casting thing, whatever that was, that looked really good. The other thing I want to mention is I noticed a little bit later in the game, like Oliver does get like you can equip him with new stuff.
Yeah,
like he can get a new outfit, a better looking wand, I believe.
Yeah, he gets in the game is like he didn't get items. You couldn't just go to any town he got to. You couldn't just buy him a new wand.
Yeah,
like he had like story specific wands that he got over like the course of the game, where like he starts out with the stick, and then he gets a wand pretty shortly into it here, and then he gets like a staff, and then the staff can be upgraded, and like or like power blessed with it or whatever, imbued. We're coming up, I believe, on an actual animated by Studio Ghibli cutscene here. Just gotta fix the problem with these guards here, because one of the guards is all super happy and energetic, and the other guard is all like tired, drowsy, possibly depressed. So we gotta basically take the one guard who's all like pumped up, get some of that energy, give it to his comrade, and then they'll open the gate for us, because he's all like, I need my coffee, where's my Red Bull? And the other guy is pretty much, had too much Red Bull. So that's basically just what's going on here. And they're not going to open the gate. I don't know why they're not opening the gate, because it's like, okay, one guy's happy, one guy's sad, or whatever. Do your fucking job, open the gate. But either way, we got to get these two balanced out so all these people around here can go into town.
Guy doing some power squats, man.
And you got to do this spell. So we take a little bit of power from his heart and say, all right, buddy, you need to chill the fuck out.
I got the guard is not. I guess the guard didn't see that happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of freak out if I saw something going on my chest like that.
And we go. We give this guy what he needs. And here's the vial. You basically need that fire in your heart, that fiery spiritual energy, Goku, whatever.
Well, they saw it.
I mean, this is a world of magic, so it's like I think people are like, they're impressed, but they're not like blown away by magic.
I feel good.
Alright, so Super Yaoi Brothers can finally open the gate for us. Yeah, it's great. You can also skip them at any time if you want by pressing start and hitting triangle. But yeah, it gives you good. It lets you see how good some of the animations are in the cutscenes. And then, of course, there's still a lot of text in the game that isn't voice acted. So, if that bothers you, whatever. I mean, a lot of the game is still voice done.
And that looks gorgeous. Like, one thing I noticed immediately is, like, how the buildings don't all look the same. When you usually go to a town, like, it's like cookie-cutter design for the buildings. You could tell, like, these towns aren't necessarily as big as some of the towns in other JRPGs.
Right.
I mean, well, HD games don't have towns, but going back to PS2 days, you'd have pretty big towns sometimes, but there's a lot more thought put into the design of these towns, I think.
Yeah, and one thing that's interesting is this town's ruled by a cat overlord, and the cat was in the normal world was just your pet cat, and here he's like the ruler of the kingdom here, and the kingdom all has this fish and like paw design motif, and you'll see it everywhere, like just in like the frames on the door houses and stuff, and his tiles on the floor and like all of that. Like they kind of like really run with the theme wherever you are. Let's see, there's something in here.
It's a coin, isn't it? Yeah.
Money. In gold. So there's a Studio Ghibli cutscene right there. And you can see how hard Level 5 has tried to make this feel like you're playing in one of their movies. So basically the thing is, as you could probably guess, I'm a little my clothes stand out here. I come from basically an alternate Earth from the 40s or 50s, and none of these people recognize suspenders and overalls, so we're going to go do something about that. And this is where you get your basic outfit that you're going to wear for the rest of the game. But either way, like this is probably like the biggest JRPG release of the year. I mean, Xenoblade's coming out here next week. And I guess that's big, but it's also kind of old. I mean, it's been out in Japan for almost 2 years. It's been out since August in Europe. So, I mean, that's kind of like the other big one. And I don't really know of any other really huge JRPGs that are even coming out here. I mean, 13-2 came out. Tales of Grace's F
came out. I guess you could... I mean, it still hasn't been announced yet, and I highly doubt it will come out this year, but people are still holding out hope for Persona 5, but I highly doubt that has any chance of coming out here, if it's even really still coming out. But, yeah, I mean, this is pretty much like, I think, the last big one for the year. Unless there's like some surprise announcements.
Well, it's interesting too because look at the JRPG genre, and they seem to have kind of migrated strictly to portables, if they even do them at all anymore. And this is kind of like the one big game that isn't like Final Fantasy that's actually going, for a really like, high big presentation, really, focusing on making use of the PS3. All that stuff. I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, do you think they just don't sell as much even in Japan anymore? I mean, what do you think is the reason we haven't seen the same sort of level of commitment from developers to high-end systems. Even the PS3 there's kind of Tales of Xillia, I guess, and there's this, and there hasn't been much else that they've... I mean, there was a lot of stuff early on with Tri-Ace was trying to do like a bunch of games that were all kind of terrible, like Infinite Undiscovery and Star Ocean 4, and then we got Last Remnant, and then they did Tri-Ace also did Resonance of Fate, which was actually pretty cool, but nobody knew it existed because Sega published it.
Yeah, Sega. We'll be getting to that in a little bit. I mean, honestly, I think it's like the problem was cost. I honestly think RPGs are probably, I mean, the scale of them, how much time you have to put into them. I think it was just the cost was too high, and these games don't always sell as well, especially outside of their home territory. I mean, Final Fantasy still sells decently. I mean, 13 still sold like it's a million copies here, but you look at how 13.2 did like almost less than half of what 13 sold.
I think, well, in America or here?
In America.
It did a third.
Yeah. So, I mean, the problem is I think they're just not seeing enough return on their investment into these games, and they just go the safe route, I think. Like, a lot of these games, a lot of the JRPGs this generation were on handhelds. Yeah. And they went to PSP, and a lot of them went to Wii in Japan because it was easier and cheaper for them to develop, I think. It was more like developing for PS2, and here's a good scene.
So basically the plot of the game, for those who don't know, is it's about this boy Oliver who... Him and his best friend Mark were building like a drag racing car or like a go-kart, kind of like a mixture between the two for a race, and they snuck out one night to test it, and Oliver like a wheel came off, Oliver crashed into a river. His mom was out looking for him at the time and saw him in time, ran into the river to save him, and after she got Oliver out of the river, she suffered this heart attack and died shortly after. And, you know, while grieving over his mother, Oliver's tears landed on this stuffed animal his mom gave him, and the stuffed animal turned into Shizuku, the tear fairy that follows him around. And he basically, you know, that's Shizuku right there, little lump little guy with the lantern on his nose. He tells him about, you know, Ni no Kuni, which is a parallel world to our own, and he says, hey, you know, there's magic and all kinds of stuff in this world, and there's a version of everyone from the normal world in Ni no Kuni, so there's probably a version of your mom in Ni no Kuni. So Oliver decides he's going to travel to Ni no Kuni and find the parallel version of his mother. But there's also this other problem going on where Shizuku was trapped in this doll's body, by this this magician Jabo. I don't know how they're going to pronounce it in America. And so Oliver kind of is doing like a dual thing here, where he's going to help Shizuku like save this one Ni no Kuni world from this evil sorcerer, kind of like Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe style. And he's also going to look for his mother in this world, because she might still be alive here. Along the way, of course, there's a lot to it. You meet versions of people you knew in the real world, and you meet their versions, counterparts here, and some of them are really different. Some of them are vaguely similar. Some of them are really bizarre, like your cat being a king. But yeah, this game is just, sometimes you just kind of like stand there and I'm like, I just want to walk around. And very few games have actually made me want to do that. Especially, we kind of hit a point of like diminishing returns, where kind of like after the first Gears of War, like nothing really impressed me anymore. Like I kind of got to the point where I was like, everything kind of looks like a better version of that.
Yeah, this generation's gone on for quite a while, and games are just, I guess maybe just for me, I'm just so accustomed to how games look nowadays that not only are they kind of they look the same, but for whatever reason, seeing some games on PCs nowadays, like this generation of console graphics starting to look a little, dare I say, dated in some instances.
Well, yeah, like Battlefield 3 on PC compared to...
it's just hard to look at games. We're always looking for what's going to be. Is it going to go to we have to wait for the refresh for the new consoles to come out, and then we're going to start this all over again? But it's always a good thing when games come along, and I mean, they have good graphics, like the technical aspect of it, the technical, like the models and everything, and the detail. But like the aesthetic style is what I look for more in games nowadays. And I mean, while this isn't like a unique art style, obviously, as I said, a lot of games, or not a lot, several games have tried to do this type. This one, in my opinion, does it the best so far, from what I've seen. I mean, it's clearly a step above the other games that have come before it to try and look like an anime in motion.
So as you can see, I've got my wizard clothes, so people will stop being so freaked out about me. I do kind of get annoyed with some of the loading present in this, but I mean that's just going from DS to PS3, so it's not that big a deal, but it's just kind of like you get spoiled on a cartridge base and then you go to this. I don't know.
Look at the water animation real quick. Is that like the one flowing down, like from the mouth? I couldn't tell for a second. I thought they were like using like a sprite animation. Yeah,
it almost does.
Yeah, I guess it was an optical trick from far away. It looked like it was like cell animation for a second, but yeah, it's just a sprite layer.
I mean, if you get real close, you're gonna find the little smoke and mirrors.
Oh no, but like from even a good middle range distance, that didn't look too bad at all. Like it tricked me for a second, but I mean, yeah, it looks really good.
And this guy in the DS version, I know he wanted you to do something to get access into the throne room. Not quite sure what it's gonna want me to do this time, but
and I mean that's something to progress the main story. But I think one thing we haven't touched on, it's the kind of the quest system in this game.
Yeah, there is a guild. Yeah. There's a questing guild. It's like a. Yeah. I was briefly entered the house a little while ago, but yeah, there is a quest guild system where you can go on and take a lot of little side quests and stuff like that. So it's not a strictly linear game. It's obviously got like its main story. There's like a spirit thing behind here or something. And this guy didn't show up until you completed something in the DS game. There seems to be like a lot of folks, like there's this one little ghost girl you see early on in the game. It's really weird. In the DS game, she doesn't show up till like probably 2/3 into the game, and she's a side plot that you resolve, and then you never hear or see from her again. Like she's like a minor character in the DS one, and she seems to be like all over the place in this version.
Yeah, if you look down like that, they actually bothered. I don't know if this drains later in the game. That was important.
I don't think so.
But like, I mean, they bothered to design some stuff below the water. I mean, a lot of games nowadays, the water goes like. Looks like you can see a foot down, and it's like an abyss.
Yeah. And I love, like, Shizuku's just idle animations. Like, he'll be just yawning or, like, skipping around. It kind of depends. It was kind of funny in the DS game. If you ran too far ahead and then just suddenly stopped, he would, like, run into you and, like, smack and, like, roll back. It was kind of fun to do. Seems to be a little smarter in this game. But I think in this version I have to go and like find like a fish somewhere and then bring the fish back to that fountain I was at. And I think that's kind of one of the small differences here. So I mean, even if you played through the DS version like me, there's a lot of this game is different in this version. Like the places are all familiar and stuff, but at the same time, like what you got to do gameplay wise will actually change.
I think you go hop on these poles in a pond over here.
Yeah.
Or you go to a house, I forget. I mean, I actually played through a good few hours of this game. Yeah, you hop across these things.
Yeah, this was not in the DS version.
Yeah.
I don't even think this area was.
Yeah, I got all the way to a part where you were with the girl and you and the party, and you used both analog sticks to run across these independent pathways. It was kind of a puzzle.
Yeah.
And then you went two separate ways to solve more puzzles, and I kind of got stuck on that. Yeah, I like that. Now, obviously, if you notice, there's always a map, usually an icon on the map that lets you know where you need to go, the star indicator for your...
There's a button, too, to disable the mini-map if you don't want it.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was.
Well, maybe it's in the options menu if it's not a regular button. There you go. Oh, no, it's first person.
I know there's a way to get rid of it, though. Not that I really want to, because I kind of need it.
But, I mean, the star thing doesn't always, like, it's a...
The little cat girl's glowing. Maybe she has a quest or something.
Oh, yeah, they have that face thing. It means that there's something you can do for them, yeah. See? You can accept a...
Yeah, no. Yeah. Sorry. I don't deal with furries.
But, I mean, you don't always have that star icon there. It is usually there, but there are some times when you have to do a little bit of, like, investigation on your own to figure out the next objective. Like, talk to NPCs, stuff like that.
Yeah, sometimes it may just tell you a general area to go in, but it won't tell you, like, what you need to do or where specifically. But, I mean, that's kind of this game in a nutshell. I don't know what else Namco is going to be talking about at their World Gamer Summit days coming up. Don't really care either. I mean, honestly, like, this is probably one of the few big games I'm interested in this year. I mean, there are plenty of other games, but, like, I don't know. If I play this game too long, I can't, it almost gets bothersome. Not bothersome, but it almost gets, like, makes other games look shitty. Not shitty, but just, it's not as good as it could have been kind of thing. But either way, though, I mean, it's still an RPG, so you don't want to just, have nothing but RPGs unless that's your thing. But, I mean, there's other... I think we should just move on to other games that we're talking about, and I think I give this fish to the king here in this version. That's kind of... I think I'll end it after I give it to this guy. Here you go, buddy. Merry Christmas. Have a red fish. Oh, Ghibli cutscene.
Yep, that's what cats do best. Sleep.
Yeah, sleep. Be bitches. So, we're going to talk about another game that had a big sort of coming out recently. And that is Epic Mickey 2. Now, this is probably where I think we're going to start actually getting some dissimilar remarks or responses here, but I actually really enjoyed the first Epic Mickey, and I know a lot of people didn't. I don't really know how you particularly felt about it, but
I mean, I enjoyed what I saw. I didn't get to. I played through the whole thing on my own time. But I mean, I saw a lot of people play it before I had a chance to, and the thing I remember most, I think, was like it felt like an old school 3D platformer.
Yeah.
And the thing I remember the most was the part where you were playing it, and you somehow found a way out of the boss battle of the stadium.
There was the
with Pete or whatever.
The Coliseum.
Yeah.
Where it was during the Small World segment, and I literally glitched out of the Coliseum, and we were trying for hours because we had like the auto lock. When we fell out, we had instigated an instant save where even if we died, we would respawn outside the stadium, but the game had already kind of like figured out that had already locked the doors to the stadium because once you get in, like it auto locks all the doors, so you can't escape. But we had glitched our way out, and we'd also fucked up the auto save, so all our save files pretty much had us locked out of the stadium and could not progress the game at all. But we overcame that because we fucked around so much with the thinner and paint mechanics, where we would literally like thin a wall and then jump on and then like fill a little bit in and then like jump and fill in the wall as we literally like re-scaffold our way up and glitched ourselves back into the arena.
Yeah, it was like something out of like Metroid 1 after that part where you beat a crate and you have to get back up with the blocks, like to shoot the blocks below you and then like stack them up as they reappear. It was like exactly like that. And like we tried for so long, we couldn't get it. And then that one time you were like just making the jumps perfectly, and then like you got over the wall, and it was like, holy shit. I mean, it wasn't intentional, but like that was so amazing to see something like that. I was like, I haven't seen a game that had something like that. I know it was technically a glitch, but just stuff like that could exist because it was designed like one of those older late 90s, early 2000s platformers. Yeah. I mean, that's the type of stuff that people got hooked on. It was not just like the basic design of the game, but the sense of exploration and going around and just messing around the world. That is one thing I think Epic Mickey did well.
Yeah, and a lot of people have criticized it too, saying like it's a dated game, a little bit, sure, but I you know what, I miss the era of platformers where platformers were stuck mostly to their genre. Like what happened was in the early mid 2000s, we had this sort of idea where like we couldn't just make a platformer anymore. It had to be a platformer racing game, or it had to be a platformer third-person shooter, or like even they got even crazier where all of a sudden platformers had to have some sort of like Lego component to them, where Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts. Like people love the game, it has its fans, but I'm like, I'd rather that game had been its own original thing rather than been a third Banjo-Kazooie game. Because I don't give a fuck about building my own vehicles. I don't care. I didn't play Legos as a kid. They never interested me. When I bought a toy, I wanted to open the box and play with the toy. I didn't want to fucking build the toy. And some people love building. That's great. Go future engineers and all that. That's fantastic. I just wanted to play a normal platformer game. And that's kind of like, it just seemed like everyone stopped making them, except every 5 or 6 years, Nintendo would like pump out like Mario Sunshine and then a Mario Galaxy. But other than that, no, we couldn't just make platformers. They either had to be, 2D, or they had to have some sort of like genre mixing. And I hated that. And Epic Mickey kind of went back to the whole very platform center. I mean, it had its whole gimmick of paint and thinner, but like at the same time, just the level design and the progression and everything was just very 1998. And I actually really dug that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you said it exactly. I mean, it might have been a little bit too dated for me. I mean, I still could get into the game. I was one of the people who had more of a problem with hate to repeat and beat the dead horse with the camera controls. They kind of got on my nerves every now and then. And to be fair, like, I mean, there are people giving examples of better ways to handle it, but I mean, I still enjoy playing like Mario 64, and that does have the greatest
Yeah, that's
cameras.
the thing. I played through Mario 64. I played through Banjo-Kazooie. I played through Banjo-Tooie. I played through DK64. I played through like most every single Rayman 2, whatever you name it. I played through it. I played through fucking Tonic Trouble on N64 and Chameleon Twist 1 and 2. I know how bad a camera can get, and Epic Mickey wasn't that bad. I mean, it wasn't like great, and sometimes I got in the way sometimes, but it wasn't. I don't know. It seemed like it was an overblown issue to me. Like I never got to the point where like I got fucked in the game because I couldn't see right.
Yeah, it was not a game crippling issue. I think a lot of people just got too narrow minded or got tunnel vision with that issue and let it take away too much from the rest of the game. I mean, obviously there were people who had real complaints with it and stuff. But I mean,
there were real problems. Like there was a lot of quests that were like if you didn't complete it with if you went too far in the main game without doing this one thing, like you couldn't go back and get it. Like
point of no return stuff's almost in every RPG nowadays. So I mean, get over it.
Yeah, I mean, it was annoying, but whatever. And then the fact that like whatever you paint or thinned never actually stayed paint or thinned. Like if you went to like say the Mean Street area of the game and like you filled in all the missing like paint areas. If you left there and came back, it would all been. It gets set back to like its default, like half missing, half filled in kind of state. And if you took everything away and you left and came back, some of it would be filled in when you got back. So nothing had any permanent effect on you, and that was I think it was an oversight, and they've already said they're fixing that for part 2. And the other big thing for me was the transportation or getting from point to point because you had to keep going through the 2D levels to go from one area of the game to the other. The backtracking. I mean, I don't mind backtracking, but like they made you do this whole thing where you do go back to a projector, jump through there, go through the 2D level that had no point because you beat it. So all you had to do was just run from point A to B. It was just like busy work. And the second game, they had this train system where if you repair the trains in certain areas, like the monorail probably because it's all Disneyland based, you repair that, you can actually create shortcuts between areas of the new game. So they're fixing that at least.
I mean, it sounds like they're fixing stuff, and I think going into Epic Mickey 2 talk, I think the one genuine issue that a lot of people had, maybe like it wasn't a negative, but was kind of missing from the game, was the moral implications of your decisions. Now they made like the War Inspector had to go and curb expectations early on, saying that like, okay, I know we teased this stuff, but like it's not going to be as like to the level of like a BioWare game where you're gonna have like massive changes in like the gameplay and stuff. There were like poignant like threads that you could like affect, but they weren't necessarily like this whole game's arc wasn't completely changed necessarily. And I think they've kind of let out a little bit that they're probably going to try and go a little bit further with that, kind of like your choices do have a little bit more impact on
there's
the gameplay.
There's still a lot
directly.
of people who are obsessed with having like this like fucking dirty rat scrapper version of Mickey that was like in a prototype stage. It never actually got into full production ever. But like for some reason people are obsessed with I want to have like a really dingy like evil version of Mickey. Like I don't understand, like really, like what part in your life did you grow up thinking, man, Mickey Mouse needs to be fucking evil? I mean, he was kind of like in the early cartoons, he was he was kind of a brat, basically. He would he'd swing animals around by their tails, he'd cause mischief, but he wasn't like I want to be a guy who he wasn't a troll. People want to make Mickey Mouse like this evil little troll, and they're very upset the fact that they didn't get that in this game, even though there was moral. Like the moral side of it's not really trying to be good or bad. It's just how do you want to solve this. It's like, here's a puzzle, how do you want to solve it? Do you want to like just wreck shit, or do you want to like try to repair shit? That was kind of more or less what it all boiled down to. Mm-hmm. So I don't really care. I mean, I've never really gotten. I mean, I play a lot of games with moral choices like Fable and stuff like that, and I don't really care one way or the other. Honestly, like I usually go the more good neutral way unless something's really annoying, and then like I might do like what is it the Renegade option?
Oh, and like Mass Effect.
Yeah. What's it called? Renegade?
There's Paragon and Renegade. Paragon's a good Renegade.
Sometimes I might go Renegade because I'm like, I don't want to deal with this guy. Let me just shoot him. But like for the most part, it's like I play through one way. And I don't even care about what the other side looks like because I just don't even bother. I never I know people like replaying games and having reasons to, but it's like he's Mickey Mouse. Really, I mean, all the Scrapper version was just kind of like a slightly darker tint and like he was hunched over and that was it. It's like he wasn't even that visually different. Big whoop,
Yeah. So let's what we do know about this. Obviously, as you can see in like the video, like Power of Two, it is co-op.
It is co-op. It's split screen co-op, and it's not online.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. I mean, how do you feel about that in this day and age?
I don't really care because I'm never going to play this game co-op.
I mean, but then if you don't play co-op, Oswald's still following you in the game. You have an AI partner,
right.
So I mean, do you trust? Warren Spector boasted that it's very intelligent AI, but that's his developer claims.
I don't know, a little bit. I like Warren Spector. I met him and talked to him a long time at Comic-Con last year, but when you're developing a game, it's kind of hard to take the director's word.
Yes.
Because there's always a chance Warren could just become the American Peter Monalou.
Over-promising, under-delivering.
Over-promising, under-delivering. I don't think a lot of people feel that he did under-deliver with Epic Mickey 1. I don't really feel that at all. I mean, I think just with co-op, it's like, well, cool, whatever. It's there for people who want to play. And they're doing it a little more in depth because, come on, let's face it, co-op in Mario Galaxy sucked. It was a pointless throwaway gimmick. Someone could just shoot the star bits and zap an enemy. Big deal. Nobody cares about that.
Yeah, I don't care about that. I just thought, you've seen how the Lego Star Wars or Lego franchise handles it's split screen.
Some are split screen and some are not split screen.
They when you get further apart, it does that whole split screen thing. So it allows for functionality for online remote multiplayer, so that you don't have to be local. Because the problem is in a game like this, there's two options. Either you have a fixed screen game like that, but this obviously isn't a fixed game, so I don't understand. You could just show what the player's seeing on the screen, and I wonder if they were getting worried about what if someone leaves the immediate zone. What's going to happen? How do we?
I don't know how the zoning works at all. That's
we don't know, but that could have been. That could have been something that threw original works, but I think it's something they could have done, and who knows?
Made it online, you mean?
Yeah, this online co-op somehow.
It's a two-player game, and it's I gotta jump online and find one person to play with. It's
I guess finding someone at the same how would they handle that?
I'm just looking for one person. Then it's online. You got to deal with all that, and all these kids are gonna jump online with Epic Mickey, and they're gonna get someone like me in there who's gonna be yell at them, "Move your fucking ass!" It's they don't want to do
that. How about this? Look how Resident Evil 5 handled online co-op. You had to we don't know how this game's going to be structured at all, it's probably not going to be structured into chapters. But you could, at the very least, you could offer an option where you meet I want to play with you, and let's say we were not two different places, across the country, whatever. And hey, let's start playing through this campaign together and stuff, And you and I we play a few hours every night and stuff, and we always have to play together or something. But we're playing online. I think that option at least should be there. But it means you're locked into playing with that person on that campaign, on that save file.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that brings up. How is progression going to work in co-op? Can you if there's still point of no returns? What if one player is trying to complete a quest and then the other player progresses the storyline to an area where you got to move on past that? It's you could royally screw up someone's game or something. I don't know. To me, it's there's a lot of questions that co-op.
It takes, as the old argument goes, people always wonder, in a single-player heavy game, let's just use Mass Effect 3 for an example, why so much resources are put into a multiplayer, which seemed to some like an afterthought, because the argument is it's taking away resources from refining the single-player experience. So I guess in this aspect, you can have local split-screen multiplayer because it doesn't really affect the design of the game at all. But if they were to have to throw in online functionality, even something as simple as the multiplayer is a separate option, different from the single player, it's taking away resources from crafting, the world of Epic Mickey and designing the game. So
I don't know.
They might not want to do that because they don't want to take away from the game.
Looking at Epic Mickey 1, I don't think you could do it co-op either. Anyway, just the way the progression system is built in the original game doesn't lend itself to co-op. So I don't know how they're going to implement co-op unless they dumb down the main campaign. I don't know. That's kind of a concern of mine. The other one is, Epic Mickey 2 is obviously coming on HD consoles, but we know for sure now that the Wii is the lead platform. The HD versions are being made in the UK by Blitz Games, who made the stunning classics of Bad Boys 2, Miami Takedown, and Burger King Sneak King, and the other two games, which no one remembers. So, yay for that. It's in HD, but a lot of people are still complaining that like the art and the general graphics are still very meh in the game.
Yeah, I think when people started to get wind that this game was a possibility, people were thinking it was going to be Wii U, PS3, 360.
And to be honest, I don't know why this isn't a Wii U game. Like, what?
Yeah, it still doesn't make sense unless there's something
like,
where
even
they
if
can't
there
talk
is a
about it.
Wii U version that's going to be announced in like the next few months, the Wii is still the lead platform, the original Wii. So it's still running off of generally a Wii-based game. So I don't understand why they bother, because obviously the first one sold amazing on the Wii, but at the same time, it's like the Wii is dead now. Epic Mickey 1 sold 3 times as much copies in its first month than Skyward Sword did. And they both came out in November. So if that doesn't just tell you right there, look, the Wii market is dead. I don't know what does. I don't even know why they're bothering. And to me, it's like maybe they're using the HD versions as a way to sort of like offset cost, if they really don't, sell very many copies. Because, by the time this game comes out, they might even be trying to phase out, shelf space at stores for the Wii. It's like, there hasn't been a Wii game released since Skyward Sword, really. Any note. And Xenoblade comes out next week, and it's a GameStop only, so it's like, the market's gone for Wii.
Yeah, at this point. When are they saying this game's? Fall 2012 right there. It's fall 2012, so anywhere from probably September till probably early November.
I've heard September is the targeted date.
That could be fine, especially if most everyone probably believes that Wii U's coming out middle of November.
Yeah.
That's when Wii came out then. It's close to the Black Friday rush where they could capitalize on they're gonna have people in there, whatever. Towards the holidays, usually when Nintendo's gonna, or more likely is when they put the console. So if you said September,
maybe that's
the dead end of it. But it could. I won't discount this game from having success. I do not think it'll be nearly as successful as the first one. But I still think it has a chance to be mildly successful, make money, and just with the fact that it's going to be on PS3 and 360, I think that will help it out in the sales department. But I don't know if they're going to make their money back, especially if they said, 700 people are working on all the games.
Yeah.
We haven't even gotten into the 3DS game yet.
But anyways, my last point about the whole lead platform being the Wii and the graphics still not being that mind-blowing is, when the original concept art got leaked and people were all excited, I look back on it now and I go, what in that concept art led you to make great assumptions on a video game? What in the original concept art showed such amazing promise? Because everyone says, Epic Mickey had so much promise and potential and it failed. And the concept art was so amazing and it failed on that potential. What potential? You saw a mechanical whale holding Epcot on its back. What does that tell you about gameplay? It tells you nothing. There was a beach full of downed rockets and robots working, full of thinner, where they're going to wow. Man, what did that tell you about gameplay? What did the concept arts of Mean Street originally? What in there? Where was the gameplay that potential that was dropped from all these people? I don't understand. Yes, you like the original concept art. I get that. It is cooler. It is more edgy and weirder and twisted than what we got. Sure. That's fine. What gameplay potential were you seeing in this artwork that didn't come to fruition in the main game? What was there? I don't know. Can you tell me? Explain to me what these people are bitching about? Where is the gameplay potential that was there that's now gone from the original concept art?
They want. I don't know. I think the arts.
It's art style.
I don't want to put words into people's mouths, but that's the problem with some people is they jump to conclusions when they see something. Obviously, a piece of artwork for any game does not inherently tell you anything about the game's gameplay. You could show off that elaborate art and it could have been a social game. You never know.
Yeah.
You should never jump to conclusions like that, but unfortunately people do. And some people had an image in their head, and we know how bad it can be when fans get something in their head about how a game's supposed to be, and then they turn around and see the game, and it's doesn't look or play anything like they thought. I'm obviously referencing, Wind Waker when they showed off first and then turned out to be like what that. I mean, there's countless other examples besides that. People just get in their heads and then they're setting themselves up for disappointment. And I don't think it matters what they were expecting. The fact is they shouldn't jump to conclusion. But also, I mean, it was leaked. It wasn't the publisher and the marketing did not, and the PR did not mean to put that image out when it did. And people saw something they probably might not have, should have seen. And that's kind of goes into a whole other discussion about like the craft of like revealing information about a game and how you do it.
But like even if they had a big art book come out last year for the first Epic Mickey, and I think some of that artwork is still in there, showing like, oh, this is the early stages of the game. So people saw it, and the artwork was going to get out anyways. But the artwork is just artwork. It had no gameplay. There was nothing in there that said anything about gameplay whatsoever. It just sort of was there, and I don't understand why. I don't know what potential. Where is the potential drop that people? Even if you didn't like the game, you didn't like the game. But what from the concept art to me was so dropped? Where what ball was dropped there exactly?
It's not the concept art itself. It's the people got an idea in their head. The idea wasn't realized, and they're saying the game dropped the ball because it didn't use this idea that popped into their head.
It's like I swear to God, they wanted the game to be some sort of like really dark steampunk version of Deus Ex. Because Warren Spector was making it, so we really want this really dark, twisted game where it's like, really? I mean, come on. I don't know. But besides that, one game people are all hyped about is the 3DS version, Power of Illusion, which is made by the developers of Henry Hatsworth and Monster Tale for the original DS. It follows closely with, it's sort of like a spiritual successor to the World of Illusion, Castle of Illusion games. That's why it's called Power of Illusion. The screenshots got leaked out from Nintendo Power, and I gotta say, I actually sort of agree with the people on this one, because in that game, and we don't know the structure perfectly yet, but what we do know is that the levels in the game are based on classic Disney films. We know that you're using paint and thinner to draw stuff on the bottom screen to make it appear in the top screen where you're playing the game, and the better you draw it, the more powerful it is, or the more damaging it can be to you. Oswald is involved somehow, but you get like ally companions, like in the Peter Pan level, you get Peter Pan to fight along with you, and the Beast in the Beauty and the Beast castle. So we don't know for sure, but it looks like there's sort of like jump in and out of like painting mechanics similar to Mario 64. And the main villain in that game is the evil queen from Snow White. And the speculation is that it's a Metroidvania game, kind of like Portrait of Ruin.
That would be awesome.
And to me, that all sounds really, really fucking cool. Actually, we know there's a Tangled level, so we know that they're not shying away from recent stuff. And it's all sprite based. It's all like hand drawn backgrounds and like sprite artwork. It's not 3D. It's not like polygons but in a 2D view. It's not like that at all. It's all sprite work, and it actually looks really, really fucking good. And I actually got to say, you know what? I may be more excited for Power of Illusion than Power of 2. Mostly because I see co-op as kind of forcing them to scale back on the campaign too much. So, but Power of Illusion, on the other hand, it's almost guaranteed to be good. It's a side-scrolling, hand-drawn, sprite work, possibly Metroidvania Mickey Mouse game. It sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah, I need more good games in my 3DS.
Yeah, and Power of Illusion, it looks like Kingdom Hearts minus the bullshit. Minus every fucking awful thing Square's dirty, grimy fingers touch. So, to me, it's like, yes, it's a game where you play as Mickey Mouse. You go to Disney Worlds. You have to, like, band together to stop the evil queen who's probably doing something to wipe you all out. Like, but, no more shitty, anime protagonists. No more, underage, love triangles and whatever. None of that. No more of that crap. Just Mickey Mouse, Disney, Epic Mickey, Power of Illusion. That's what I want. Dream Drop Distance can fall in my toilet for all I care. That is the real Disney Epic game I want to play.
Alright. Yeah, obviously. I won't disagree with you, but I won't exactly agree with you on that. We have a difference of opinion on Kingdom Hearts, but I will say, I mean, I haven't seen as much of Power of Illusion. I have definitely heard the tidbits about it. As soon as I heard it as like Castle World of Illusion's spiritual successor / sequel, I mean, I was on board. I'm definitely gonna try it out. I'm definitely gonna try and play. I mean, sorry, Wii. I'm gonna try and play Epic Mickey 2 on probably 360 or PS3.
I don't know. I may just stick to Wii just because the IR aiming just lends itself better.
I mean, I want to. I mean, I guess you said the Wii platform's lead. I mean, I want to try and see it with this a little bit better visual fidelity. I don't know, but I mean, it's a good. I mean, it's sad that this game is coming out so late in the Wii's life. It's like almost kind of being sent to die a little bit.
It is being sent. Nintendo's not releasing any Wii games this year.
And I mean, it has. As I said, though, it still. I'm not going to discount it. It has potential. And I mean, I think this type of thing is good. I'm glad the first one was a success. I'm glad we're getting more of it. I hope one of the two does well so we can get more kind of Disney games like this. I mean, these are the type of games I like to see. So hopefully they continue. And anything else on that note?
No. Just I don't know. Well, I'll wait and see on Power of 2. I'm excited for it, probably more than most people. And I'm not writing off the console versions, but God, it's really hard to like. It's really hard to be more excited for the console versions, knowing what we know about the Power of Illusion on 3DS. It's like, God, that sounds so much cooler. So, but moving on, the British are coming. The British are coming to die. That was the other game that had its big sort of reveal recently this past week was Assassin's Creed 3. Now, let me explain my history with Assassin's Creed 1. Assassin's Creed 1, it kind of sounds cool. It has really shitty trailers. Okay, finally get to play the games by the Prince of Persia Sands of Time guys. All right, it's going to be awesome, right? No. Assassin's Creed 1 was boring. It was boring as fuck.
I mean, the game, I keep going, but I mean, I will say that the problem with the game is all the side stuff. They hadn't really, I don't think they've really figured out the sweet spot yet for the design of the game. They were trying something a little bit new, trying to fuse, as you said, the Prince of Persia formula
with like
a little bit more open world, so it's not level design structure, so... You know, they were obviously trying to find the groove.
But it was boring. It was set in the Middle East, which I'm sorry if you're from there or you love it there. I mean, geographically, it is boring. You know, it's rocks and sand. You know, in some small shrubbery, big deal. And oh god, so I pretty much got turned off to Assassin's Creed. And then years later, a friend of mine, guy who plays Wesker and assists me. Basically, I was over at his house and he forced me to play Assassin's Creed 2. Put a controller in my hand, turn the console on, like sit down, shut up, you're going to play this game, you're going to like it. And I was like, I don't know, not the first game. No, I don't care, play this game. Within the first half hour, Assassin's Creed 2 was like miles better than the first game. It had a really good main character. It had like a good story. The gameplay was pretty fun. You know, I was really getting into it. The setting was so much fucking better. I mean, it was just a great game. So I understand why we had 3 games with Ezio. And you played through all of them, and I only really played... I've only played 1, 2, and Revelations. I actually never touched Brotherhood.
I mean, I only touched Brotherhood. I actually didn't finish. Or, I think you got them backwards.
I played Revelations.
Oh, so you did play the newest...
I didn't play Brotherhood, which was in the middle, but I didn't play Brotherhood. I just played Revelations.
I played through 1, 2... I played through Brotherhood, I started Revelations, and I got about an hour and a half, 2 hours into it. I'm like, this is just Brotherhood all over again with 1 or 2 different mechanics. I was like, I can't play this again. Like, I need something new. I just didn't want to play that anymore. I mean, not saying it's bad, but I already got my fill in Brotherhood. I mean, and I totally agree with you. Between 1 and 2, it is a giant leap in quality. They definitely figured out some things. You felt more freedom. It felt like you weren't forced into these situations that you didn't want to be in terms of like side objectives or which you had to complete to get to main objectives. And Brotherhood was like, I like the refinements in Brotherhood too. I like being able to I mean, everything they threw in there, and I will say this about Revelations: I did like the tower defense type stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess it was mixed for.
I don't like strategy, so I didn't really care about that. I like the hook claw, which extended your ability to grab ledges. I like the zip lines, and I really like the bombs. The bombs were a lot of fun to fuck around with in Revelations.
I mean,
especially by the end where you had all the different ones. You had the cherry bombs, spike bombs.
Except for the few times you needed them that I saw, like, I was just avoiding using them. I was like, if you were good enough, that you played 2 and you played Brotherhood enough, I mean, you got good at that system. In Revelations, I mean, yes, I believe technically using the bombs gives you you can have better level of play if you use bombs, supposedly. I'm going to say in theory, but I was having no trouble getting around stuff without using bombs.
I don't know about trouble, but I mean, it did help. Oh, there's a group of enemies, spike bomb, dead, everyone.
Yeah, but I mean, all right. So I think we can agree that like Revelations kind of like more of the same.
Oh yeah,
it was just it was like all right, let's get on with it, and here's Assassin's Creed 3, and how much speculation was in there? I mean, before it was announced, jeez.
Well, that was going to be in the Revolutionary War.
Oh, people like it's going to be in London. It's going to be in Japan.
Well, there was hints in Revelations and other games that you saw George Washington with one of those little golden apples or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was kind of hinted at as going here, but Assassin's Creed. Brotherhood and Revelations were, there are all these games are made by like 6 different development studios spread across the world from Ubisoft, which I don't know how the games come out as good as they do because of that, but 3 is made more from the team that did 2 than the teams that did Brotherhood and Revelations.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard. You can't really say, it's the original developers because, like, all of Ubisoft. It seems like every single studio Ubisoft owns has had a hand in all their Assassin's Creed games somewhere. But this is more from the leads of 2 is making 3. And I actually thought, I thought the idea for Revolutionary War saying was pretty cool. Now, there were a lot of people who were really upset saying, what the hell are we going to run across? There's no tall buildings there, which is not really true. But a lot of people were really upset with the idea of going to a sort of rural colonial landscape. And I was just like, whatever. It didn't really faze me.
That was a complete opposite, honestly.
I saw this trailer and some of the initial screenshots, and I got really excited because to me it's like, ooh, I really hope this game is just like Red Dead Revolver. Like I want it to be Red Dead Revelations, where it's like takes obviously
Red Dead Redemption. You mean?
Yeah, you're right. Not Revolver. Fuck Revolver. Red Dead Redemption. I want it to be Red Dead Revolution. It's just gonna be Red Dead Revolution. I'm just going to kill British. I'm going to have this open world frontier setting and all this fucking... it'll be awesome.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the trailer, I mean, you could see in the videos, or if you've ever watched it, I mean, just the part where he's running across the trees. When I heard it was Revolutionary War was the backdrop for this game, I was like, that's what in my mind, I'm going to be running through the forest. I'm going to be doing stuff like this, like, knocking people off their mounted horses. I'm going to be running across branches and stuff, a lot of stealth, a lot of wilderness, and, like, right there... That's what I thought, and I saw that. I was like, okay, I'm excited. They're, at least in CG form, they're showing me what I might be doing gameplay-wise, and I was like, this is what I want. I'm tired of running on top of buildings. I want, just a little bit different.
Yeah, change of pace.
And it seems like not only is it going to be, like, faster pace, kind of, like, weaving through... It seems like it's more, not a parkour, but, like... gives you more freedom to craft the path that you want to go. Yeah. Whereas you were kind of forced to the rooftops, and there was some creativity in how you could get around. But like, this seems like it's going to be like definitely more freedom when you're running around, but also like ground-based stuff. There's a heavier emphasis on just crossing terrain.
Yeah, they showed him with like a canoe and stuff, and like I'm like, yes, this is what I want. and I think it's actually going to be a great period because I had a little bit of hesitation because I'm like, do I really want French developer recounting the Revolutionary War, American history, despite the fact that they had a big hand in helping us in the Revolutionary War. Let's be clear about that. But I was like, whatever, fuck it. Well, I'm over it already. So,
just real quick on that, you do know like a lot of the original writers of this series are gone now.
I mean, I have heard that, and honestly, I don't care because I'm going to tell you one thing right now. I don't give a fuck about Desmond or any of the present day stuff. So I don't even care about the original story. I know they're like almost every single Assassin's Creed fan except one that I've ever talked to agrees with me. You could not have any of Desmond or the futuristic story stuff in the games, and they wouldn't care. Like you could remove that completely, and they wouldn't mind at all. So if Assassin's Creed 3 was literally just about Connor and never had anything about the Animus or the present day, I'd be even happier. I don't care about the present day story. I don't give a shit.
I think it was a novel idea in the first game about the concept of the Animus. I mean, and showing it to you, but I think as we got on, I was like, well, I think it would be. I wanted one or the other. I was like, either I'm playing as Desmond, the whole game set like in a modern urban environment, or take me to this location. Like I didn't like going back and forth anymore. I was kind of tired of it after 2. I was like, you know what? I don't want to see. I mean, if they do something different with Desmond, obviously for those of you we don't want to spoil anything, but if you played through Revelations, you've kind of seen what happened.
It's whatever.
But the basic thing is like I don't disagree with you. I would not be totally upset if they just decided like from now on we're just gonna stick in the time period that there might be an opening cutscene that shows you jumping a random character going in Animus, they're going back, whatever, and it's just the story of that period, the end. You know, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I mean, some people do, but I mean,
like one person, like I said, one Assassin's Creed fan I've talked to said like there's a lot of really like crazy shit going on in the present day, and like I really want to know where this is going. Like I don't care. I really just don't care. Just let me play this awesome period piece setting. I don't give a fuck about your futuristic way back machine. Stick in your spinal cord, and we can see what time what ancestor took a dump on what hour. I don't care. just let me play this. I mean like. I don't remember much, but like in 2, like when we went back to Desmond, it was just kind of like, oh shit, let me get back in this game. Like I was just annoyed when playing as him.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like, especially like the beginning of Brotherhood when you're like running to the villa. I mean, you're setting up the Animus down there because you've been on the run. I mean, it was just like it felt rushed. It felt like I was watching National Treasure in like the pacing of it. That like the things were just conveniently there and explained. Yeah, and I was just like, you know what? I mean, whatever. It got over. I got into the game, and I was like, I don't really want to go back here, but every now and then I was like, you should go back and like pick. I agree with you. I wouldn't mind if it still was there necessarily, as long as it was done well. But I do agree that like if they took it away, I wouldn't like care that much. I mean, I'm not married to the concept of having to see like what's going on in the present day. But going back to this, I mean, the story, the few bits of story they said, like I think the coolest thing I've heard so far is that you're not necessarily. Everyone sees the trailer here. Oh, you're gonna be fighting with the Americans. Oh man, like. What if I'm like not an American? I'm playing this game like I'm gonna be offended, blah blah blah. Especially if I'm from if I'm from England.
It's gonna be interesting to see how England takes care of it.
But as I said, you are doing stuff that benefits the assassins. You aren't doing stuff that necessarily benefits the other. It's whatever benefits the assassins at the time. You will be helping different factions. Apparently,
that's a big thing. Yeah. You are not a patriot in this game. You are not a loyalist.
You're not Benjamin Martin.
Yeah, you're just you're kind of just out for yourself and you're in the Mohawk tribe, and that's basically it. And, frankly, the fucking British kind of get in your way, and so they die.
Yeah, and I guess,
it's fine with me. I mean, like I said, it's going to be weird. I might still be a little weirded out if all of a sudden, like, we kind of have, like, this sort of, like, dim view of, like, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and all these founding fathers, like, hey, they were slave owners, so they're bad people. It's like, well, a little bit sort of. Hey, Washington realized, the ridiculousness of slavery. He freed his slaves in his will when he died, and he talked about how, I mean, let's not get into all that, but, like, look, like, if you want to get to, like, the weird, like, if you really want to dive into the complexities of the founding fathers and the whole Revolutionary War. I'm not sure how I feel about another country doing it, but it's a video game. I don't care. I'll get over it.
I mean, you did raise something there about like we know Connor's he's the assassin and part of the Mohawks, but who are the Templars? I mean, if they've said this, I apologize. I've kind of tuned out Ask Creed 3 info for the last few weeks. I mean, who will the Templars be in this game? Everyone's like, oh, the British. I mean, or who will they be? What form will they take in this game? And I think there's some good possibilities there for.
Here's an interesting question. Do we really need to have an eternal struggle between like assassins and Templars? Like,
oh, I think that was. I mean, I think you kind of have to after Assassin's Creed 1 kind of establish that. That's, I mean, the whole existence. I mean, they're at war with each other. I mean, over the control of the planet, basically.
I guess, but what if
even if you take away the future stuff,
after so much time, what if one side just eventually kills off and wipes out the other, and so it's just the one, and then you have other groups that kind of come into existence that are Templars.
Yeah, it's a fictional story. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, do we have to always tie it back to that?
But I think as far as suspending disbelief goes, I still think they want to make the point in these games that the Templars are everywhere. They're not that easy to eradicate, and it kind of feels like the assassins are always on the underdogs who are trying to fight against the Templars, who seem to be one step ahead and have more resources, more money, connections.
I guess.
I kind of like that aspect of you're the underdog fighting, to keep the assassins alive and fighting against this secret Illuminati / conspiracy theorist type of organization of the Templars, and
I guess
it's cool. And again, just like the other stuff that we talked about, if they decided to make a new faction or a new reason for the assassins, a new focus, if it was well done, I wouldn't be against it. As long as it's enjoyable, I'd like to see that, but I also don't think they have to go away from the Templar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's getting to the point now where we're getting to real physical dates, real specific people that we know a lot about. So I mean, it almost to me the fictional worlds might the fiction the non-fiction and fiction might start to clash a little bit with this game. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what they do.
Either way, though, I'm definitely getting this game on the Wii U because
why?
The reason for that is I'm going to get a Wii U anyways. And the Wii U is almost assuredly going to be more powerful, even marginally, than the current tech we have. So if I'm going to get a Wii U, and this game's going to come out right about the same time or right before, I might as well just get the Wii U version because hey, it's probably going to look the best and run the best. Not discounting PC, because I'm sure there'll always be a way to make the PC version look the best. That's a given. But to me, it's I might as well just go for it.
I'll just watch you play it on Wii U to see how good it looks. I mean, I've played these games on the Assassin's Creed series. I played on 360. I kind of like that. I got used to that controller for this type of gameplay, the free roaming, open world, platforming / combat. That's what I'm used to. So I'm the type who, if I played a series too long with a certain controller, it has nothing to do with the Xbox, it's just the controller. If they made that controller work on PS3, I wouldn't mind whatever system I played on. But as far as I know, I only have without modding or any crap like that, I can only play obviously PC people would be like, you can play that on the PC. So I like the Xbox controller. So I'll play it on something where I can play it on the Xbox with the Xbox 360 controller. And not to say that the PS3 controller is that's necessarily bad. I'm just not used to it. I'm sure it just plays just as fine on PS3 for people used to that. But I will say I do have a little bit of a reservation playing it on Wii U's controller. I will wait to see how it feels and stuff with other games. I'll be more inclined to buy titles exclusive to Wii U before I jump onto multi-platform
I was
games.
scared when I saw the Wii U controller because it did not look comfortable at all when I saw it on stage. Later on, I got to hold it, and it felt pretty good. A lot of my fears were dashed. When I played real games on the Wii U controller, then I was convinced, okay, this will be okay. This will be fine. But, initially I can kind of see, oh, God, this does not look comfortable to play. But, I played Ghost Recon. I played New Super Mario Brothers. I've played, the Chase Me and Battle Me games. So I've played, third-person shooters. I played first-person. I've played side scrollers. I've played third person, so it feels fine. I mean, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, my mind might change too. I might go to it, so we'll see. But I think I'll stick to whatever. I mean, I'll do what I feel like at the point when it comes out. But right now, I say I'm kind of leaning towards getting it on either PC or 360, so I can play it with the 360 controller.
So either way, though, I think Assassin's Creed 3 might be one of the big games this year. Brotherhood and Revelations were both, obviously they were good titles, but like to me they weren't like standout titles of the year they were released in. Like Revelations, especially because we'd really gotten done with the whole Ezio climbing over like 16th, 15th, whatever century it was, architecture.
1400s and 1500s.
1500s, yeah. 1500s,
1500s. Yeah.
I think we'd all kind of gotten done with that. But to me, Assassin's Creed 3 looks like it could be one of the big games this year. Especially for me, because I'm sure Black Ops 2 is going to be like a big game. But I can safely say I'm kind of fatigued on Call of Duty now.
Oh, we just got into a discussion about Black Ops. I don't want to talk about that game.
It's coming, you know it. But again, I'm kind of just like, I've actually hit the fatigue point where now I'm just like, I'm good. I'm done. I'm sure it'll be a humongous fucking title when it comes out, but I'm done with it. I'm looking forward to Ni no Kuni, Assassin's Creed 3, Bioshock Infinite, Darksiders 2. Like, those are my games this year. Like, I'm kind of done with Call of Duty for now.
Yeah. I agree.
But, so, okay, well, that's going to wrap up gaming, but let's talk about our one non-gaming related news bit, and that's Legend of Korra. Now, again, a little backstory on me. I was really big into anime at the dawn of the new millennium. I discovered Princess Mononoke sometime after a bit on VHS and was blown away by it. Got into anime, got really blown away by, discovering some really early great titles like, I think one of my early titles I saw was Tenchi. I don't know how people would consider Tenchi Muyo nowadays. I enjoyed it a lot. But then I got Cowboy Bebop and I was like, holy shit. Like, anime is fucking amazing, And then it just started to die. Really. So for me, it was like, depending on who it was in my group, it was like, for some people, anime died really fast. And then me, it was kind of like somewhere in between. And then then there's you who just, I don't know, anime really, it took a while for you to kind of stop watching anime.
I mean, I'm always watching older series. I mean, thanks to the miracles of the internet. I mean, I don't think I haven't watched anything. I think the last series I actually watched was a month or so ago was Trigun for the first time because I hadn't actually seen Trigun.
Yeah, but Trigun's good though.
Yeah, but it's older and stuff. But I mean,
but it just seems like everything stopped being good at some point around the turn of the century, somewhere around 2003 or 4 or something. Anime just died. Like they still make it, but just the quality and the ideals and the writing and everything just kind of I don't know. I don't know if they just stopped trying or I don't know what happened there. But anyways, one night I got really bored. I saw a lot of pictures being posted online of the series Avatar: Last Airbender, and I was like, I always helped push, kind of brush it to the side because I was like, whatever, American anime, it's even worse than normal anime. Fuck that. One day I decided, whatever, I'm just gonna look it up. I'm bored. It was really late at night, so I went onto YouTube, found back before YouTube was super on top of everything, started watching the first few episodes and just got really hooked. And then decided, you know what? That was awesome. I'm going to go to Best Buy and buy the box set. So anyone who says posting full episodes on YouTube is bad, for business is a fucking liar. It's great for business. I would never have discovered, watched, or bought all the box sets if I had not had, watched full episodes on YouTube. So that whole idea just can get thrown out the window with me. So let's not. I don't know. I know you were kind of standoffish about Avatar at first as well. You really.
Oh, yeah, we should tell. I mean, I did not watch this till. Okay, here's how it happened. I knew that you and some of your friends were really into Avatar. I mean, there's one year we went to Comic-Con and you were dressed as Ozai, Fire Lord Ozai,
yeah.
And it was the year of the finale, I guess, for book 3. And I just knew you guys were into it, and it's kind of like my thing. Friends of mine are into something. I'm resistant to, getting into it. I think it's stupid and stuff. That's how my story with anime was at first. I thought it was stupid and childish till I actually watched some of it. And it was actually, we went to go see the movie adaptation because I thought it would be great to troll you guys and sit through it and watch you guys just, be filled with anguish watching every scene go by. And I watched it. I was just so confused. I had not watched the series, so I had no idea what was going on half the time. And afterwards, I was like, that just didn't make any sense. And all of you were like, we're going and watching like book 1 right now. And you guys made me sit down and watch like the first few episodes. And I was like, all right, I will sit through and watch all this on, it was it Netflix, wherever it was on. I decided to watch all of it. And I watched it all and I agree. I was like, this is really good. I was like, I kind of am ashamed that I thought so poorly of this series without actually having watched it. And I felt bad that I missed out on like a lot of the fun that people had watching as it was actually airing. So, I mean, I got really into it very late, and now here comes Korra, and I'm like, not again. From day one, I will be on board with Korra, and I finally get it. I understand the excitement that people have for the series, and yeah.
So Legend of Korra, first it got leaked, and then they decided to release the premiere officially early online, and we've got the first 2 episodes of the new 26-episode series. Originally it was going to be 12, and then Nick signed on and said, hey, we want 14 more, so it's a 26-episode series now. And it takes place 70 years after the first series, so you don't have to have too much attachment to the original characters because it's all new cast. And it's about basically this new avatar called Korra, who's like a very headstrong, like feisty girl who can bend all 4 of the elements: fire, water, earth, and air. And her problem is that she can't bend air. She's like this prodigy at bending like fire, water, and earth, but she can't bend air well. So she has to go and find the son of the original last airbender, and he's going to teach her how to bend air. Well, he lives in this big city that was built by the original TV show stars or cast, whatever. The characters from the original series, after it ended, built this big giant city called Republic City where all these people could live together. Kind of like a New York meets Shanghai melting pot of the world. And so Korra sneaks out from her home in the South Pole and goes to live, and find Tenzin, this airbender, and learn airbending from him in this Republic City, and all kinds of stuff happens. Well, one thing that I was initially really afraid of with Korra, I didn't say it because I didn't want, people would kind of just get angry at me, but I was afraid Korra was going to be this Mary Sue character. Mary Sue, basically, is someone who you write to be invincible. She was going to be invincible. She was going to be a Mary Sue. She was going to be, basically like the character Alice from the Resident Evil movies. I'm just this unfucking stoppable warrior woman. I was afraid, okay, we're going to get this feminist soapbox, and she's going to be untouchable. We can't see her get hurt. We can't see her fail. She's just going to be amazing at everything she does, and we're just going to yeah, girl power, yeah. I was like, oh God, I hope they don't go there, because the original press release really sounded like that's what Korra could be, and I was like, I really hope that's not the case at all, because the original creators are above this. I know they love strong female characters, but they can do better than just making here we have a strong female protagonist, and she's going to be the star of the show. Aren't we advanced?
I didn't really read much of the press release. I mean, everything I saw of it, I honestly didn't have that. I didn't share the same fear as you. My kind of concern was that the first series had a very good balance of being serious but also being lighthearted. It had the perfect timing and knew when to do just both. And my concern with this was that it would be too, action-oriented, and it looked like it was this might have been a bias of mine, it was skewing towards an older audience. So I thought it was going to be too action-oriented and to take itself too seriously and kind of lose kind of the playful, lighthearted nature that the first one nailed so well. And I can say after watching the first episodes, no, they still preserved that thing in there. I was laughing at a lot of parts. There were still some good moral lessons in there. It feels like I'm still watching Avatar, but it's new. And
I think both our fears were unfounded. There obviously was a lot of really good humor, but it would almost seem like different humor. It wasn't goofy humor. It was more, I almost say character-based humor, or it had a very different sort of charm to it. The way Tenzin's youngest son is just a complete spaz. And the way Korra is kind of just trying to be like amazing at stuff, but she's not. Like when she's like sitting there trying to meditate, and she's like, she's like, I don't get this. I'm just scratching. She's just sitting there scratching her ass and like looking at the. She's like, oh well, look at my kids. They're meditating. Like no, they're asleep. Yeah. It's like just different types of humor rather than Aang being a goofball and like wanting to like swim in a lake and almost get eaten by a fish. And him like, oh, I'm running away on water. Like less goofiness and more just more subdued charm to it. So. But it still is funny, though. I mean, Milo, the character, Milo, the youngest son of Tenzin, is just... He's hilarious because he reminds me so much of a lot of real kids today who know that they're out of control and want to act that way to just make people laugh and stuff. So, and one of the other great jokes is when the dad is like, you tells his daughter, you must promise me you won't be like Korra when you get older. And the daughter's like, I will make no such promises. It's like... more funny like that way rather than the physical comedy of the first series. So that's only 2 episodes though. We don't know. Could go back.
Yeah, it could.
Could go back and forth. So, but I do think it does skew a little older. I mean, there is a more serious tone to it. Toph's daughter, who's the chief of police, is like just a total hard ass bitch. Like Korra's like Aang and Toph were friends. They saved the world together, and she's like, that has diddly squat to do with what you did. And it's just like. Whoa! Someone's a badass up in here. It's just it is just skewed a little bit older. Like the villain is Ozai was sort of menacing, but he was just kind of like, yeah, I'm the fucking Fire Lord. What you gonna do about it? I'm badass. But this new guy is like he's more creepy. He's more like we see in like the trailers, and like he's like there's this part where he's just like holding Korra by the face, and he's just like I'm gonna save you for last to destroy, just kind of thing. He's like. He almost seems more darker and menacing, but without being too extreme. There's when people say darker, they usually mean like, oh, well, we're gonna imply like death, genocide, and rape, and all this nasty shit. Like that doesn't have to be what darker is. Like it doesn't have to be gore and stuff like that. It could just be menace, but more like scary menace, not just like look at this. I'm look at you see your friend here. I'm gonna pop a cap in their ass, kind of thing. Just menace in a different way, and they seem to be really nailing that so far.
I mean, yeah, I definitely see hints of that, but I would also say like the other thing I'm gonna notice kind of right off the bat with this is how they're treating. I know you don't want to get this. Treating the development of romance, and like the cast is older. These aren't little kids anymore.
But even the little kids were like,
oh, I mean,
all romantic. That was kind of a weird thing about. Okay. Some people get a little weirded out because in the first series, like 12-year-olds and 14-year-olds were like falling in love with each other, and they became like life mates. Not that shocking, because if you go back in history, even our own American history, you go back 150 years in American history, it was not uncommon for 13-year-olds to marry each other. Not uncommon.
I mean,
different time. The first series was in the past, so to me it was like. It's weird, but it's not. To me, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Okay, in a historical sense, it's not too weird, but the show is being presented to a modern audience. The original one was obviously initially intended to be aimed at a very young demographic, so it's a little whether or not I'm not an expert in child development. You probably more say, but like children age 5 to 12 watching the show originally, the original show, how they were picking up on that, how they were interpreting it. Might have been like not the best way to handle it. I mean, I think to older audiences watching it was a little weird to see that, but this time around it's older cast. It feels more natural to at least to me watching it. And right off the bat, like Korra's into some stuff like that. I mean, you see in the very second episode that she's digging this one guy, Mako, and as you can see from this trailer, there are definitely scenes of the two together, and it looks like there's inclinations that she has feelings for him or something, and that has given, I mean, I don't mind that because, it's done well and tastefully, and they're obviously going, like, in that way. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, it is a little bit more mature in that sense that they're dealing with, feelings right off the bat, whereas that kind of got hidden a little bit. It was kind of, like, teased every now and then in the early series, and then come into fruition until later.
I guess that's a good way to look at it, because it's like, okay, in the original series, yes, we had romance, but romance was we had a longer series and it was more in the background, and we kind of didn't really need to like focus too much on it. The new series is of course different because, like you said, they're older, it's shorter, and we don't have to hide it so much, because obviously, like, people who are 17 are obviously into each other.
Yeah.
so they're not. It's still not the focus of the show, though, at all. And do you really? You have to wonder, though. Do you think Korra and Mako? Do you think that's an apology to the Katara and Zuko fans from the first series? I mean, I have to bring it up because everyone's thinking it. We're all thinking it. Is this their apology to all the pissed off rabid fan base that wanted the firebender and the waterbender to be together in the first series?
I mean, I can see that. I think I even brought that up myself originally. But honestly, like, who is? I mean,
she could end up with Bolin. It
wouldn't be okay. I understand that, but like as I understand it, the whole Zutara crap happened pretty late in the series, and when there were multiple possibilities people were thinking about. Right now, I think they're like right now. While you can say it's maybe an apology because the personalities mesh, kind of like feel like Zuko and Katara, but there's not that many real options.
I don't know if it's a personality thing. I just think waterbender, firebender.
That too. Everything about their characters like screams Zutara and Zuko and Katara. I said, but my point is that I want to also hit is like it's very early on. It seems like an obvious pairing and stuff.
Oh yeah, it's obvious. It's gonna be the waterbender and the firebender. So yeah,
we don't know if they're gonna go any of that direction where they're gonna there could be a triangle. Whatever the heck's going on. They might just be more concise with that, which that's not necessarily an apology in my mind. It's that they decided to pick something and stick with it, not to like lead on people.
There was no leading on in the first series, though.
Well, to some people, they thought so.
They're insane. There was never anything in the first series that ever let it. No. Like, I know people like to say, that scene in the end of book 2 where they were trapped in the bottom of that cave together and she almost healed a scar. No, fuck you. That was never going to happen. Never. Oh, it made me so. I don't want to get into it too much, but it's just kind of like, where do they learn? Where do you find this? Like, it seems to me like people grasp onto an idea they want and will look for any reason to find proof of it. And I know people are like, well, it's just weird. Why would Katara go with a boy younger than her? Hey, that happens. And you know what? I applaud the first series for having the love interest where the male is the younger of the two. So I think that's actually kind of cool. It's different. So, I mean, there was never any chemistry there between Zuko and Katara, and I don't want to get too far into this, but I mean, they kind of almost do kind of. I guess you're a little bit right where there is a little similarity. Where like in episode 2 of Legend of Korra and Mako don't get along really. I mean, like she doesn't like him, like because he's such he's such a brooding, kind of just like whatever, and like. She just is like, what am I going to do? What does it take to impress this guy? And she calls him a jerk and all this stuff. And it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe she won't like Mako, But then I'm like, as the episode kept going, I was like, okay, this is obviously going to turn into like a hate-love kind of thing. Oh, boy, here we go. So, my favorite character, though, so far is Tenzin. I think it's fascinating when they have these older characters. Because in the first series, my favorite character was Iroh. And Iroh was an amazing character. He had a lot of backstory that wasn't ever fully revealed, and I liked the way he was handled. He was kind of like a cheery old uncle, but he had a very serious side to him as well. And Tenzin, I like him because he's not quite as old as Iroh. He's middle aged. He has 3 kids. He has a 4th on the way, and he's trying so hard to be this calm, patient, wise teacher, but he has to deal with all these nuts around him. He's got one daughter who's a bookworm. Fine. He's got one daughter who's basically like hopped up on Skittles and pixie dust or whatever. And then he's got Milo, who's just ADD personified. And then he has to deal with Korra, who's just like this headstrong, force her way through all training kind of person. So he has to deal with so much like craziness, but he tries to keep his composure no matter what, and I really dig that about him, and I like how I just like the way he handles all the situations and and his attitude when he finds out like Milo's not really meditating, he's actually just asleep, and he's just like, what? Oh, well, at least he got the relaxing part down. Just I like that sort of aspect of him, and when he comes to meet Chief Lin Beifong, and he's like, hello, Lin, you're looking radiant as usual, and he's trying to be nice to her, and she's like, cut the garbage.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's for me, it's still kind of early on. I mean, obviously, Tenzin is one of the standouts just by design. I mean, I agree with everything you said. I just think they haven't really shown enough characters, so, I mean, it's kind of easy to pick someone right now because the cast is still relatively small, and there are only so many characters on screen time. I mean, I will say this. I mean, yeah, I agree with everything you said about Tenzin, but I also, so far, I mean, I like how they've handled Korra so far. I mean, I like how Aang was much more pacifist. Aang was distinctly a pacifist. I mean, we're not going to spoil anything, but if you saw how the whole series resolved, he took that to the extreme, his pacifism. Korra is I mean, they definitely share the same personalities in a lot of regards, but the one element is you said she's very headstrong, very fierce and combative and confrontational. She likes to take the physical, violent route sometimes. As we saw in the episode where she's trying to do her airbending training, she just gets so frustrated, she just destroys the whole, the workout thing, And, she does, that's how I'll deal with stuff. I'll just, if I get frustrated, and I kind of like that. It's different enough, and, I mean, there's some things I can relate to, being that young and stuff, you get frustrated, that's how I used to deal with things, is just get angry, screw it, I'll figure it out a different way. And, man, I like how she's been handled so far. She's not... I never feared this, but she's not over-sexualized. I mean, yeah, she is, slender and athletic-looking, but, I mean, she has a very moderate, outfit. I mean, her appeal, I mean, kind of ambiguous, with, her look and stuff, but, I so far I like everything about her and stuff, and, I mean, everything they showed me about the cast. I know there's going to be a lot more Tenzin, but I'm really hoping they bring in... I'm waiting for the other characters they've obviously mentioned before that haven't had enough screen time or haven't even appeared yet.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the cast kind of develop the ensemble, and we'll see who sticks out then, at least who I think sticks out. But they've done a good job getting me at least hooked so far with the characters they have.
Yeah, what do you think? This book is called Book 1 Air, which is they didn't have an Air book in the original series. So what do you think their Book 2 is going to be? Because they announced that the series is split into Book 1, Book 2.
So it's Book 1 to 2? I mean, yeah.
Spirit?
It could be. Well, yeah, I mean, she said, that's the other thing. Besides air, that would make sense, because besides airbending, all the things I've seen say she also, at the very beginning of the first episode, she also says she's terrible at getting in touch with the spirit world. She can't do that as well as Aang.
That was one of the big things of the original series, was that Aang was, he could connect to the spirit world. And the avatars, when they're connected, there's a sort of parallel universe in the Avatar world called the spirit world, where that's where you actually go when you, well, they kind of hint at it a little bit, is that's where you go when you die, or something like that, or at least the avatars do. And the avatars live in the spirit world, all the past lives, and Aang could communicate with the avatars before him, and when he got really good at spiritual side, he could always talk to them. He could just go into a meditative state and just start talking to the past avatars. So
yeah.
And Korra apparently has no abilities whatsoever in the spiritual side of things. Is completely just bad at being spiritual. All she knows is force and fighting and being efficient at that. So
yeah, I mean, I don't want to start jumping to theories about what will happen in the series, but one really obvious thing which they could do is she does, as you see, she has difficulty mastering airbending, that throughout the first season she becomes she masters airbending, and maybe the climax of season 1 is maybe the anti-airbending movement seals her power somehow, and the second book's about her having to go into the spirit, getting tapped at the spirit world to regain those powers somehow. That could be the whole arc there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's idle speculation, but I mean, I mean, it seems kind of obvious now saying spirit, but I mean, who knows what they'll pick? But that certainly makes sense. But yeah, I mean, kind of stinks that it's only... I know it isn't even really... It just got underway, but like I'm already thinking about how it's going to be over in 26 episodes.
Yeah.
And how we got more in Avatar 1. I'm like... It's kind of like, I hope they
Well,
make,
it's
like,
crazy, because after we see the 3rd episode on the 21st, we'll be a 4th of the way through the 1st season.
Yeah.
Already. It's just... Wow.
It
was always originally meant to be a miniseries. It was never meant to be a replace or a whole start of a brand new 3 epic arc. It was always meant to be, because they all, the series takes place. They said at least all of book 1 will all take place in Republic City. So it was always meant to be a miniseries. It was never meant to be
an epic, like where you go across the whole world.
Yeah, it was never meant to be a journey like the first series was. So I'm actually cool with that now.
We all see how bad it can go when people take a series too far and keep it going and going. Like fans like us are like, we kind of like, we wish there were more, but at some point you do got to draw the line and you have a story and tell it.
I respect so much about the original series was that they planned it to be a 3-book epic. They planned the beginning, middle, end, and they stopped right at the end when they defeated the Fire Lord. They were like, spoiler, but come on, they tell you that in the opening of Korra.
Yeah.
So they stopped. Once they had told the story they had planned to tell, they stopped and said, we are not doing any more of this. And apparently, according to Comic-Con, when they were explaining that, Nick came in and said, guys, you gotta make more. Like, it had gotten so big by the end of the first series that they're like, okay, seriously, you need to make a 4th season. And they're like, no, we don't want to make a 4th season. We're not going to make a 4th. We gotta have more of this. So the concession basically was like, Nick wanted more Avatar. The creators did not want to continue the story that they had finished. So they came up with this whole idea like, let's move it ahead 70 years and let's talk about the next Avatar. It'll still be the same series, but it definitively keeps our story closed.
Yeah.
Which to me was a great idea. Like you don't want to drag it out and beat it like a dead horse. I mean, I don't watch TV, so I don't know for sure too much about this. But like, I know there are series like Supernatural that apparently had a good definitive ending, and then they wanted more, so they just stretched it further, and then it was like a dead horse getting beaten and raped.
Yep, I tell you all about that. So I watched Supernatural. Big shock. I still don't like Twilight. Get over it. But that Supernatural actually is a really good series that anyone can enjoy. And I thought the finale of, I believe it was season 5, the touted as the end of the series originally, like that was a really good episode, I thought. And it had an ending that was kind of bittersweet. Definitely won't spoil that. But then I turn around and a few months later, one of my friends like, hey, they're making a next season. I'm like, how? It ended. Like, the new characters? Like, no. Basically, they were undoing the significance of what the ending established just to bring back people for another season, basically. I'm sorry if that spoiled anything if you have a brain, you can like rationalize stuff, but they basically were destroying what the ending had established for the sake of we're going to continue the story. And I hate stuff like that. And I have not watched a single episode of any of the new stuff from Supernatural. I refuse to. In my mind, I'm satisfied with how it ended. I don't want to watch anymore. And call that ignorance, but I mean, that's an example of even taking it too far and ruining what some people enjoyed. And I hope Avatar never goes there. And
it would be like making a sequel to Cowboy Bebop. In my mind, like if they continued Avatar, maybe not that drastic, but it's like if you've seen all of Cowboy Bebop, that series is over at the last episode. That last episode ends the series definitively. You could, it's not impossible to imagine future things happening to the characters, but that series is over, and anything that past that would have been dragging it out.
Yeah, you'd either have to go to a new set of characters like what they did with Korra here, or just sorry to interject, but they always had the idea of the prequel, series with VT's Trespalus. Whatever, I'm saying the name wrong. The legendary bounty hunter in that one episode, Heavy Metal Queen. That Spike.
Oh yeah.
Like everyone thought, well, they can make a prequel before Spike's time. Two things: a prequel with that bounty hunter and his adventures, Or a lot of people wanted to see like Spike stays in the Syndicate. I was like, that I thought was a terrible idea. But anyway, back to Korra. Like, you know,
they were smart. They said, you know what, we'll have some throwbacks to the original series, but they're minor. They're probably seems like they're only going to be in the first episode because like Katara's in the first episode of Legend of Korra, but she has a special guest voice of Ava St. Marie, who, you know, was a very, you know, famous actress from the 50s, 60s. You wouldn't know. She starred as the main love interest in On the Waterfront, a great movie. You never saw it, I'm sure.
When you're saying you, you're addressing me.
Yeah, you.
Not you, the audience.
You know what? I am addressing the audience, and I'm sure most of you